time around in Author's Corner, we have Neil Griffen. He's written such an interesting book. I love the title, From Science to Spirituality. And it's got to make you conjure up all kinds of images, I think, in your head. We had a great off-air conversation about the questions and the preconceived beliefs when you look at science and you look at religious thought. And so it's going to be a great discussion with Neil about his book. So, Neil, thanks so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
So my first question to you is, you're this guy who has this brilliant mind for science. You're a physicist. What drives you to explore such a tough and broad theme in combining science and spirituality and trying to answer the question that a lot of people have?
When I was a child, my parents took me to a Christian church, and I kept wondering why they believed what they did, and I just couldn't buy the whole thing, but I went along with it. By the time I got to college, I found physics seemed to explain everything that went on, but it's based on the scientific principle that you have to prove what you're talking about. You need a demonstration. You need something physical. The spiritual, the church teachings and everything wasn't based on the scientific method. It was based on belief. That is, you have to believe what they tell you, believe what you come to your own conclusion. And I looked it up in the dictionary. Belief is just an opinion. So wait a minute, I'm a physicist. I'm trained in things have to be verified, have to be proven, have to be demonstrated over and over again. So I had trouble accepting many of the religious ideas. And I took a look at physics and said, what can physics tell me? And physics had a basic law. The most basic one of all, it says everything in the universe obeys natural law. Scientists say there is no exception. Everything flows according to natural law. And being trained as a physicist, I said, yeah, that makes sense. I understand that. I don't say if I believe it, but there have been millions and millions of scientists trying to disprove it, and they can't. Every time they try to disprove it, they find either the law was correct or is not correct, and then they changed it. So I looked at that philosophy, and it says, how does that affect spirituality?
And so that's a perfect place to continue this movement that we're talking about. So what did you find out? Tell us, and of course we want people to get the book From Science to Spirituality because it's such a broad question. But what did you find out? Give us a little sneak peek of that.
Well, I started off with saying the brain is a physical object, and therefore, because it's physical, the brain has to follow physical law. But I was also, same time I was going to college, attending a spiritualist church. Now that's as far from science as you can get because they talk to the dead. And I said, no, wait a minute, they got something going here. But a medium can do something else a scientist can do. They can verify what they say. They can talk to someone who's dead, and the dead will reveal things that only they could know. That's a medium would have no idea knowing. So I said, well, there's something going on here. There's a natural law that extends into the spiritual side. And so I was saying, how does the brain, which is physical, interact with something which is spiritual? And that's where a lot of my unfolding, a lot of my belief began to develop.
Wow. And again, you can pick up Neil's book, by the way, on Amazon, From Science to Spirituality. And it's interesting because, again, you're a guy with 20 patents. You're steeped in, cryotronics and all kinds of amazing things when we talk about your scientific career. I'm curious, what did people say when you tackled this in your world and you decided to write this book?
I didn't get too much because a lot of people are so steeped in their belief. Yeah. And one of the first things I found was the psychological truth. If you believe, nobody can talk you out of your point of view. As a matter of fact, your mind will go to great extents to defend your point of view, even to the point of ignoring facts. So the first thing I do as I'm talking about that is, what are your beliefs? What do you think? And if they're sort of questioning, opening, I said, yeah, I can make sense here. But if they list off a liturgy of things they believe, I say, no sense talking here, because what I say, they will never hear. So a lot of talking I didn't do, except for people that I knew were open enough. And there aren't many people like that who haven't already formed some sort of spiritual belief.
Boy, isn't that the truth? That's called a fixed mindset. There are so many people that would have that. So what do you hope people take away from reading your book?
The great insight, I guess, I want to share is that the ideas of science explain how the brain works, explains how spirit, which is non-physical, can affect a physical object, i.e. the brain. And from that, what does the spirit take into the spirit world, and how does it affect this world? The great insight I wanted to say is depend on science as a guide and follow it wherever it goes. And my book explains a lot of places that it goes, including the different phenomena of psychic phenomena and the different religions, saying, no, I don't believe in religion. I believe in what science can produce. One of the last things I brought out of the book, which I think was probably my fundamental thought, what is God? I talk about God a lot in the book, but I never really explained it to the last chapter. And the last chapter I said, well, what is science? Science is everywhere. Science describes everything. And there is no exception to what science can do. Replace the word science with God, and the words are about the same. Isn't that what God does? God knows everything, past and future. Science knows everything, past and future. So my thought is, when you look at God, look at science. And science gives you an idea of what limitations you can have. Can you pray to God? Can you pray to science? Those are interesting questions. What people have discovered, for example, energy healers, which is they're quite obviously not physical, but what they use is a spiritual energy within each and every one of us to affect the vibration of somebody else. So that is something where the spirit not only is having a direct effect on the body, which each of us have. We are a spirit, and I like that old statement. We are a spirit having a physical experience. And to me, that puts the whole chatter right. Life is about the spirit experiencing the physical. And when you look at it that way, it changes the whole perspective. We are here to learn what we can, but what we learn, we will take with us. So that's my thought. What is God? God can be described as physical, what science is.
Wow, perfect place to end this. I mean, you're just making me think in lots of different directions, and I'm sure the listeners are as well. So the book is called From Science to Spirituality. Neil Griffen, thank you so much for joining us on Author's Corner. We appreciate it, and we appreciate all of you for listening to this hour of the show. Thank you.
Thank you.